And then obviously this is a celebration after the bombs dropped in August 1945. The news report revealed it to the people at Oakridge what they had been working on all along. See, they got posters saying war ends. Truman reports the nation war is over. They're all excited and happy. No one's dying anymore. The war is finally over. And from the paper, they finally understand what they just did. They were all doing separate tasks, separate duties, but no one knew exactly what they were doing together. So seeing her in the newspaper the first time, war is over, we dropped a bomb. That's when they say, holy shit. That's what we were doing. What's good, gang? How are we doing today? My name is Dalton. Welcome back to Chillin with Dylan. This is episode number 3, and we might as well just address a few questions here first. Yes, I am dressed as Marty McFly. It's Halloween. Let it be. I've never dressed up before for Halloween on video, so might as well do it now. You know what I mean? This costume's fire. Anyways, if you haven't seen the movie, watch the movie. Besides the point, last episode we did the moon landing conspiracy and flat earth, and this is supposed to be a weekly podcast. It's just for the past 2 weeks, I've been like deadly sick. I'm still pretty sick. I think it's kind of cleared up. You can't hear it in my voice as bad, which is a good thing because I wouldn't want to listen to somebody's sick talk. You know what I mean? And I think it's going to be a weekly podcast every Sunday. And so once again, if you guys do not know, the podcast is not only on YouTube, it is also on Spotfiy, coming to Apple Podcasts soon, and a bunch of other podcast services. So if you guys want to listen on Spotfiy, link is down below. In the coming episodes, I'll probably do something special for Spotfiy listeners. We actually have quite a few, so shout out to the Spotfiy gang. I appreciate it. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So we're chilling with Dylan. If you can't tell, I just like learning new things and I like talking about cool things to me, which involves moon landing conspiracies or flat earth. And this one, I want to talk about the Manhattan Project. If you don't know what the Manhattan Project is, it was a covert operation that the United States conducted towards the end of World War II to create the atomic bomb. And yes, it's awful, right? If it shouldn't have happened. It's sad that it was actually dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate it had to go down that way. But take away the millions and billions of lives that could be lost by an atomic bomb. There's just something so fascinating about them. Just like the extreme explosive quality, you know what I mean? I got a Fallout thing behind me right there. If you don't know what Fallout is, it's a video game. It's where you wake up and you're in a nuclear wasteland after World War III happens. And I just been obsessed with atomic bombs for a very long time. And I think everyone is because there's such a huge fear factor around it. Obviously, it's scary, right? The threat of World War III. It's kind of subsided a little bit in the news nowadays. Putin's making accusations or whatever, you know what I mean? But like, I don't think World War III will ever happen because no one's going to win. So we can hope and pray it never happens, right? But in the meantime, the Manhattan Project, right? Super, super, super secret. We're talking not even the vice president knew about it because the United States was trying so hard to beat Germany to the atomic bomb. Because the funny thing about that is Germany actually conducted the first atomic test, I think it was in 1938, where they figured out the nuclear bombs could be possible. And I know Albert Einstein helped with working on the atomic bomb, a bunch of other scientists. And the super cool thing about it is what we're going to go into mostly. I think there was 3 secret places where they created the bomb. And we're not talking about like an underground factory like Area 51, some people believe, or like, you know what I mean? Not some secret government base. These were actual towns. And the one I've read about most that I've learned about is Oakridge, Tennessee. It was a completely built like city almost, and it wasn't on a map. No one knew it existed. And the government kind of like, I think, sent postcards in the mail to invite people to come there. And when they came there, there was a bunch of posters and a bunch of signs everywhere that said, you can't talk to anybody about what you're doing here. And you would literally go and sit down in a building or something, and they would tell you to press a button or tell this guy to pull a lever or tell this guy to like turn a key. You know what I mean? No one knew what they were doing, but all of that added up to create the bomb. They were called on this secret mission to come live in this city that no one knew about and then had no idea what they were doing until the news hit the world that, you know what I mean, bombs were dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So like, I don't think that level of secrecy can exist today at all because of social media, but it just gives me Stranger Things vibes and I love it. So now that we're here, let's jump back to the beginning. A discovery by nuclear physicists in a laboratory in Berlin, Germany in 1938 made the first atomic bomb possible. After Otto Hahn, Lise Meitner, and Fritz Strassmann discovered nuclear fission. I honestly think I butchered those names. I even took a year of German, but that's my bad. When an atom of radioactive material splits into lighter atoms, there's a sudden powerful release of energy. The discovery of nuclear fission opened up the possibility of nuclear technologies, including weapons. They discovered that there's a powerful release of energy, nuclear fission. If you don't know, there's 2 different kinds of nuclear reactions. The first one is nuclear fission. The second one is nuclear fusion. I think there's like tests to try to create a nuclear fusion reactor here on Earth, but I've heard that it's very, very damn near impossible because the only thing that we know that can successfully create a nuclear fusion reaction is the sun or any other star. So like the sun, you know what I mean, in our solar system, is a nuclear fusion reaction. In the sun, at least, is hydrogen and helium, I'm pretty sure. And so when they combine, it creates energy. They fuse together into one. And with fission, you split an atom and it creates more. So fusion fuses, fission expands, I guess, right? I'm awful at science and math. Like I literally cannot do college level algebra because my brain is completely right-sided, meaning I'm more creative. And so I love learning about science and math. I just can't understand it. You know what I mean? If I could, I would probably be some sort of scientist, but I just can't do it because I suck at math. But the Manhattan Project was a code name for the American-led effort to develop a functional atomic bomb during World War II. The Manhattan Project was started in response to fears that German scientists had been working on a weapon using nuclear technology since the 1930s. On December 28, 1942, President Franklin D. Roosevelt authorized the formation of the Manhattan Project to bring together various scientists and military officials working on nuclear research. So obviously, right, huge war going on in Europe. If you look back on it today, it's kind of hard to put yourself in that headspace of what it'd be like to have the entire world going to war. A rising German empire just kind of slowly taking over all of Europe. There's like really nothing that can compare to it today. Like, yeah, we got the war in Ukraine, but like even that's not as massive of a scale as in Germany. I don't think it could exist nowadays anyway, just because of that. Now we do have nuclear bombs, right? And I think we're just a little too advanced for someone just to take over another country. It could happen, but like even Russia can barely take over Ukraine. You know what I mean? And so much of the work in the Manhattan Project was performed in Los Alamos, New Mexico, under the direction of theoretical physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, father of the atomic bomb. On July 16, 1945, in a remote desert location near Alamogordo, I think that's right, New Mexico, the first atomic bomb was successfully detonated. The Trinity test. It created an enormous mushroom cloud some 40,000 feet high and ushered in the atomic age. So yeah, right, first nuclear test conducted. Homies probably said, holy this is a lot bigger than I thought it would be. You know what I mean? It wasn't just some little bomb you drop out of a plane. This thing was absolutely insane. Huge radiation everywhere. And like actually in the city I live in, my grandparents live about 45 miles away from me. And they would tell me that in the morning time, they would go and sit on their front porch and watch the atomic bombs explode. My grandparents live in Utah. That's where I live. They dropped a lot of bombs in Nevada, right? The testing site. And they said from Utah to Nevada, about 145 miles away, I think, right? I don't know the actual number, obviously, but they said they can see the actual mushroom cloud come up from the bomb. And I think it's valid. I obviously don't know. Maybe they're telling the truth. Maybe they're not. I wouldn't know. I wasn't born in 1960. And my great uncle actually died a couple years ago of cancer because of downwind. And so a lot of people in the area I live in here in Utah have gotten cancer or some form of radiation, I guess, because of all the atomic bomb testings when they were kids. And now it's developing later in life. And so like, yes, obviously it affected Hiroshima and Nagasaki a lot more. You know what I mean? But like the effects of the nuke were still felt here in America. Scientists at Los Alamos had developed two distinct types of atomic bombs by 1945, a uranium-based design called the Little Boy and a plutonium-based weapon called the Fat Man, right? Obviously, everyone knows this. While the war in Europe had ended in April, fighting in the Pacific continued between Japanese forces and U.S. troops. In late July, President Harry Truman called for Japan's surrender with the Potsdam Declaration. The declaration promised prompt and utter destruction if Japan did not surrender. Here we go, right? Obviously, end of World War II. Sort of overkill, if you ask me. Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. Awful, you know what I mean? They had a little sneak attack. They blew up ships. It's a sad thing. Tragic day in American history, right? I think the total death count was 1,000 to 2,000. But because they blew up a few of our ships and bombed us when we weren't expecting it, we dropped the sun on them twice. You know what I mean? Prompt and utter destruction if Japan did not surrender. Not one bomb, two. And so I guess it's a classic America's show of force, but kind of wild. You know what I mean? On October 6, 1945, the United States dropped its first atomic bomb from a B-29 bomber plane called the Enola Gay over the city of Hiroshima, Japan. The little boy exploded with about 13 kilotons of force, leveling 5 square miles of the city and killing 80,000 people instantly. Tens of thousands more would later die from radiation exposure. And the bombs dropped back then are nothing compared to the bombs dropped today. I did a little reaction over on TikTok about the different size comparisons between nukes, and Fat Man and Little Boy, nothing compared to the Tsar Bomba. You know what the Tsar Bomba is? Russia has it. Biggest nuke ever created. That thing would absolutely level anything. It's actually scary to think about. When the Japanese did not immediately surrender, the United States dropped a second atomic bomb 3 days later on the city of Nagasaki. The Fat Man killed an estimated 40,000 people on impact. Nagasaki had not been the primary target for the second bomb. American bombers initially had targeted the city of Kokura, where Japan had one of its largest munitions plants, but smoke from firebombing raids obscured the sky over Kokura. American planes then turned toward their secondary target, Nagasaki. Citing the devastating power of a new and most cruel bomb, Japanese Emperor Hirohito announced his country's surrender on August 15th, a day that became known as VJ Day ending World War II, VJ Day. And like the Japanese would not surrender. Besides the point, that's all history. Everyone knows that. The bombs obviously created the Cold War, a nuclear age that no one had seen before. We got nuclear reactors now, and it has had a lot of positive benefits, but also 500,000 people died in Japan. People are dying over here in cancer. Constant threat of nuclear war is in the air now. It's like, at what price? You feel me? Human beings seem to always, they can never agree. I guess it's just like primitive nature. Like we always have to have Russia against America or China against America. You know what I mean? Everyone just always has to fight about some dumb shit, honestly. And so like, it's sad. World peace should be achieved. It's never going to happen, but we can only hope and pray that World War III never happens. So now we get to talk about Oakridge and Los Alamos. Oakridge was the home of the uranium enrichment plants and liquid thermal diffusion plant and the pilot plutonium production reactor. Once again, like I said earlier, a town that no one knew existed, but people still went to save their country. Absolutely unfathomable. It couldn't exist today. Maybe it does. We just don't know, obviously, right? But I feel like it couldn't exist today because of the existence of social media. In 1942, General Leslie Groves approved Oakridge, Tennessee as the site for the pilot plutonium plant and the uranium enrichment plant. Manhattan Project engineers had to quickly build a town to accommodate 30,000 workers, as well as build the enormously complex plants. The city I live in has 42,000 people. It's relatively big. It's about 5 miles across. It's nothing crazy. You know what I mean? We have a Walmart, no mall, not even a Chick-fil-A. We have one in my school, but you know what I mean? So like, I can only imagine my city being the secret city. There's a lot of people here. 30,000. That's a pretty big number. It's obviously not nothing compared to New York with 1 million, but by the time President Roosevelt authorized the Manhattan Project on December 28, 1942, work on the East Tennessee site where the first production facilities were to be built was already underway. Groves acquired 59,000 acres of land along the Clinch River, 20 miles west in Knoxville, Tennessee. Also approved was the removal of the relatively few families on the marginal farmland and extensive site preparation to provide the transportation, communication, and utility needs of the town and production plants that would occupy the previously undeveloped area. They straight up copped land from the few families who lived there. Just bought their houses, said, we'll see you later. By the end of the war, Oakridge was the 5th largest city in Tennessee. While the Army and its contractors tried desperately to keep up with the rapid influx of workers and their families, services always lagged behind demand, obviously, right? The town site was in the northeast corner of the reservation, a strip less than 1 mile wide and 6 miles long with hilly terrain descending from the Black Oak Ridge in the north. So like, it's somewhat secret, right? Little corner of Tennessee, obviously became the 5th largest in the state after World War II, but still kind of secret. No one knows about it. Kind of crazy, right? Materials were in short supply, so the first houses were built with prefabricated panels of cement and asbestos, or cemesto board. They were known as alphabet houses because each of the handful of home designs was assigned a letter of the alphabet. There were small 2-bedroom A houses, C houses with extra bedroom, D houses with a dining room, and so forth, a total of 3,000 cemesto type homes. It's just so fascinating to me to just like be selected randomly. Come on, you got to serve your country and then go and live in these houses they built for you. No one tells you what's going on. They tell you to press a button. All you know is you're doing this for your country. You can't tell anybody because you don't want the Germans to find out, right? Part of Oakridge's appeal to Manhattan Project planners was nearby Knoxville with its population of 111,000. However, the top secret project was not warmly welcome in Knoxville, arousing both suspicion and resentment. Many saw the people flooding into East Tennessee from all over the country and the world as foreigners who could not be questioned. Homies who lived in Tennessee saw all these people coming to go work at Oakridge, asking them why they're there. They have no idea. They can't tell you even if they did know. People are going to talk, obviously, right? Human nature. So suspicion and resentment to just a little town being built and no one saying anything about it. Classic government conspiracy, but like it'd be just so wild. You know what I mean? There's nothing like it today. I don't feel like. Maybe there is. I just don't read into it that much. I don't know. The quickly constructed secret city was blanketed in a thick layer of mud. As a result, its residents' muddy shoes were a dead giveaway as to their origin. So then it says there were 4 different reactors there that people helped work on. And so not only were these people just kind of brought to this city, they were also given lie detector tests as a part of a security screening to make sure obviously no German spies were there, but also just to keep it super top secret. And a billboard posted in Oakridge on December 31st, 1943 has a picture of Uncle Sam, obviously. What you see here, what you do here, what you hear here, when you leave here, let it stay here. Uncle Sam is cap off saying, yo, this is it. American pride, government propaganda, obviously, but still crazy, bro. It'd be crazy to be a part of something like that. And if you look right here, we got a picture of all these homies just sitting here, right? All smiling, obviously. Someone's telling them, push this button, pull this lever, turn this valve, whatever you got to do. And like, I'm sure some people knew at least a little bit about what was going on there, but not everyone knew the full story, right? A few people knew they were building a nuke. Some people knew They were doing something radioactive. They were creating this plutonium plant. They were diffusing this, right? But they had no idea what they were doing as a whole to create one thing. They just knew their specific job, which makes it even more weird and interesting. And here's some of the temporary housing for them all. Like, look at them. The sudden growth of the military's facilities caused the local population to grow from about 3,000 in 1942 to about 75,000 in 1945. That's a lot of people. That's 72,000 people in 3 years. And like, look at how crude these houses are. They look like Elon Musk's little box house. You know what I mean? And I think what's so appealing about this little city is it reminds me so much of Nuketown from like Call of Duty or anything. You know what I mean? It's just so secret. People live there. Obviously, there's not mannequins, but it's just so secret, right? We got a nice little entrepreneur here during the days of the Manhattan Project. He's selling comic books for 5 cents. Nice. What do we got? We got Captain Marvel Jr., New Funnies, Nut and Joe. Interesting. I'm trying to see. Bunny, Donald Duck. Cool. Here's another poster right here. Make CEW count continue to protect project information. CEW stands for Clinton Engineer Works. Here's another one. Whose son will die in the last minute of the war? Some more government propaganda, obviously, right? Whose son is going to die in the last minute of the war? You know what I mean? Just to keep them staying secret about it all. And then here's an aerial view of the town of the gigantic factories. K-25 plant, where the uranium was produced. So look at that. Huge factory, bunch of houses everywhere. Like, homie's really going for it. And then obviously this is a celebration after the bombs dropped in August 1945. The news report revealed it to the people at Oakridge what they had been working on all along. See, they got posters saying war ends. Truman reports the nation war is over. They're all excited and happy. No one's dying anymore. The war is finally over. And from the paper, they finally understand what they just did. They were all doing separate tasks, separate duties, but no one knew exactly what they were doing together. So seeing her in the newspaper the first time, war is over, we dropped a bomb. That's when they say, holy shit. That's what we were doing. And now we got a list of a bunch of things they also use nuclear technology for. They had a little therapy unit installed as a source of radioactive cesium-137 to kill diseased tissue, allowing maximum dose of radiation to a cancerous area, minimizing effects to a healthy tissue elsewhere. So that's kind of cool, right? Obviously they got nuclear technology now. They're using it beneficially, and they're just trying to use it to cure people. 2 of 40,000 mice being used in atomic tests at Oakridge by scientists seeking to learn the possible effects of radiation on the heredity of man. The mouse on the right is described by the AEC as a hereditary mutation, a descendant of mice which have been given periodic doses of x-rays. So this mouse was radiated, this one was normal. It's kind of messed up, you know what I mean? And this looks just like Fallout, dude. Holy crap. Atoms for Peace. A mobile exhibit presented by United States Atomic Energy Commission. Atoms for Peace. Crazy, bro. Crazy to be living during that time. And nowadays you can go and visit Oakridge. It's an actual town. And it's one of the places on my bucket list to go to. I would love to go to Oakridge, Tennessee just to see it and just see how secret it was, because the whole secrecy of it is just amazing to me. You know, I said this many times during this podcast, and I still don't think anything like it can exist today, honestly. And now we get to check out Los Alamos in New Mexico, even closer to me, somewhere I could go relatively quickly, honestly, and go visit, which I'd be down to do. Led by scientist Robert J. Oppenheimer, the staff at the secret Manhattan Project location called Los Alamos was responsible for the development and testing of the nuclear weapons dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yup. The development and testing culminated with the successful detonation of the first atomic bomb device, nicknamed the Gadget, in New Mexico's Tulsa area basin on July 16, 1945. So obviously, right, this is another place super responsible for creating the bomb, but also where the first bomb was actually dropped. While secrecy was a top priority at Los Alamos, another common theme, secrecy everywhere, a semblance of normalcy often occurred there as well. Husbands and wives and their children ate family meals, enjoyed hikes throughout the area, and attended parties which were often hosted on weekends at scientists' residence in the gated facility. All the while, however, research and assembly was taking place on the world's first nuclear device, the Gadget. So that's what they called it at first, the Gadget. Interesting. We got a picture of a chick hanging up laundry on laundry day. Wild. We got a little bomb being loaded up right here. Final assembly of it. At 5:29 a.m. Mountain War time on July 16, 1945, after the Gadget was hauled to the top of the tower via electric winch, the world's first successful nuclear explosion took place. A blinding flash of light visible over 160 miles away occurred, followed by a huge fireball and mushroom cloud. The explosion left a crater over 1/2 mile wide and turned the surrounding sand at ground zero into glass, or trinitite. Oppenheimer recalled, "We knew the world would not be the same. A few people laughed, a few people cried, most people were silent," because they knew it would not be the same after that, right? Here's a little paper. Los Alamos secret disclosed by Truman. And yeah, creators of the very first bomb, super top secret, and everyone knew. Jesus, bro. We just started something that we don't know if we could finish. And Boy, were they not wrong, huh? So 2 top secret locations, no one knew what they were doing. People were hitting buttons and pulling levers just to save their kids from going to war. Eventually, the bombs were created. They were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. People found out what they were doing, and it started an endless Cold War between the world's greatest superpowers, and nuclear war constantly in everyone's mind. Quite a crazy turn of events, but it's history now. We all know what it is, and it's sad it had to happen the way it did, but I guess we got nuclear reactors out of it. You know what I mean? Those are obviously still harmful to the environment, but still. Anyways, I think that's about it for this one. I know it's a little shorter. I wasn't sure what else to talk about. If you have any ideas of what I should talk about in this podcast, please let me know down below. Also, we have a Discord server if you want to join that. Also, let me know some things to talk about. Once again, Spotify, Apple Podcast, link is down below. Thank you guys so much once again. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.